You are listening to Thrival Nutrition Podcast, episode 66. Welcome to the Thrival Nutrition Podcast with me as your host, Lahana Vigliano. We talk all things holistic living, real food nutrition, fitness, herbs, essential oils, and so much more. I'm here to make your holistic lifestyle simple, easy, and fun for you and your family. I am beyond thrilled that you are here. So let's go over and hop over to today's episode. Happy Tuesday. We are days away from leaving. I cannot believe it. We leave this weekend. We are just patching all the last minute things up and we will be headed to Texas. So the next podcast you hear, I will be in Texas. That's super exciting. We're stoked. We are ready for this new chapter in our lives. And I just want to thank you guys for joining me on Instagram stories here, following my journey, especially this new big life change, which is huge. And I just feel so blessed to be able to experience this and, move to a different state and, kind of start fresh. And so many people think we're a little crazy. I mean, they don't say we're crazy, but they're like, I can't believe you're just up and leaving, like no friends out there, no family out there. It's literally a fresh start. And especially with kids and, having their grandparents and things like that, it's tough. But I promise, I've understood and I've come to the conclusion that you need to get outside of your comfort zone. Whatever makes you just uncomfortable, get comfortable. And so we're really stretching that. And, we preach that all the time of getting outside your comfort zone and, doing what you have to do. And, we just feel called out there anyways and really, tuning into that. I know that listening to that and getting outside of our comfort zone, only some awesome things are going to happen. So we're very excited about it. And to believe that last year, we kind of started planting the seed and it's here. That's crazy. I don't know. I remember last year saying it's going to take forever. Next summer is going to be forever away. It's going to feel forever. I just want to get out there. And now I'm a couple of days away from leaving and I can promise you it doesn't feel that long. It kind of feels like it's been in a rush, except I would say May. May has kind of been slower for me. And I think it's because, excitement and it's becoming real. So every day you're looking what's the date today? How many more days left? So I can say May kind of slowed down a bit. Today we have on the podcast is Olivia Kegel, and she's awesome. And I personally have learned so much in this episode. And we're talking about diastasis, the separation of your abdominal muscles, especially post-pregnancy. I know so many moms. I have so many mom friends that, deal with this. And, I knew the basic about it of, what happens. And I honestly thought, this just happens with any pregnancy. It's kind of like you get it, some don't. But Olivia really opened up my eyes to just being able to prevent it, different exercises of what you can and cannot do, how long it takes. So make sure you listen to the end because there was a question I forgot of how long it takes. And it's so surprising, I don't know. It really opened my eyes. And so I hope all my pregnant mamas, because you can be working on this before you give birth. And even, you can start practicing this before you get pregnant. So maybe you're okay, me and my husband are going to start trying, next month. You can start working towards preventing this. And I always like to say prevention is a lot easier than, trying to actually heal and restore something. So no matter what part of life you're at, with growing a family, prenatal, postnatal, this all can help you. So I'm very excited to introduce Olivia. Hi, Olivia. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast this week. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm very excited to have you. I haven't covered this topic yet, but I feel like it's a must need to cover because I know a lot of moms that deal with diastasis.
Yes, they do. They absolutely do.
So go ahead and just introduce yourself. Let us know who you are and what you do.
Okay. My name is Olivia Kegel, and I'm a prenatal, postnatal corrective exercise specialist and a diastasis restoration specialist. And really, I just help mommies heal and restore their cores. And if they have diastasis, we deal with that. If they are pregnant, help preventing it or help minimize it. And I even like to talk to women beforehand because you can prevent it even. You can get stronger in there to make sure that you're not going to get it. And so diastasis is it's a separation of the left and right abdominal walls, and this can happen because of pregnancy, but it's not usually really the cause of it. So
Interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah.
kind of always thought that it just it was just one of those things that happened with pregnancy.
And a lot because of our weaknesses beforehand, it will usually develop. So I know a lot of women are like, look at my belly. You can't tell me that didn't cause this. So, if they're so big, but it's caused by an intra-abdominal pressure, usually because of malalignment in the body, wrong breathing patterns. It's pretty interesting once you get in there and study it.
Awesome. What brought you into focusing on this specifically?
Well, I didn't even know what it was, honestly. And I wanted to work with pregnant mamas. And then you start seeing all the pelvic floor issues that pregnant mamas have. You start seeing women have the diastasis and leaking issues. And I just started putting two and two together with the pelvic floor and the diastasis. And so many women feel hopeless when they have diastasis because they look for 5-6 months pregnant still. Their abs hurt and their pelvic floors can hurt. There's just a lot of symptoms that go along with it. And so I just wanted to dig into it and start helping these mamas.
Awesome. And yeah, I think you specializing in it is so awesome because I don't really see many people specializing in this. And I feel like it's something that moms can become not so confident about their tummies after pregnancy, of course. So I love that you specialize in this.
Thank you. Yeah, I love it. It has been an amazing journey in getting to help these mamas. And there's not many people to help with diastasis, but there are some women who do talk about helping heal diastasis, and you'll see them on Instagram and Facebook saying do planks. There's a lot of dangerous information out there that concerns me. So I like getting the word out even more because planks can definitely hurt this and make it worse.
Ooh, we'll definitely have to cover that.
Yes.
See, I mean, that's like with anything, even like what I do with nutrition. There's so many like bad advice out there, and it could just be someone from, just what they hear in like, the telephone game, like what someone told them and what someone told them. And there's just so much bad information. So I do like to, like what you do, like to cover and show people the right way and, educate people.
Yeah, it's important. You're right.
Yeah. So tell us, what causes it and how could someone tell if they have it? So like symptoms that they could be suffering from.
Okay. So the malalignment, a lot of times we think we're in good posture, if we're standing up straight like a soldier, but that usually puts us in rib flaring positions or even, hunching over. A lot of this, or even sucking in our bellies, all of that combined creates an intra-abdominal pressure. And wherever that pressure is going to just boom, you never know. So it can be diastasis, it could be hernia. A lot of times hernia is going to be go along with diastasis. A lot of women do have hernias. And wrong breathing patterns. So we're usually chest breathers, and we've got to learn to breathe with our diaphragm, because our diaphragm will, when you're in correct alignment, it presses on our organs and it opens our pelvic floor. And then when we breathe out, our pelvic floor is supposed to come right back up, and it's a pressure system in there that's supposed to work wonderfully, but it doesn't because we are out of alignment. We sit all the time. Our pelvic floor's in the wrong position and we're not breathing correctly. So we need to learn to adjust that. And a lot of times our inner core is very weak, which is our transverse abdominal, our pelvic floor, our multifidus muscles of the spine, and diaphragm. All four of those need to be working together. And we don't do that. We do things to actually injure it. So I don't know if you knew all that. But what and how you tell if you have it is, and it's kind of hard to tell and not show you, but you need to lay down on your back and kind of put your knees up and barely lift your head up. And you need to start, maybe where your ribs meet, and you start pushing down, and you want it to feel like the cartilage of your nose, pretty bouncy. But if it feels like if you push into your cheek, that's really soft, that means that linea alba tissue that runs down the middle of the left and right abdominals, when you start pushing in and your finger starts dipping down, your linea alba tissue is probably stretched out and weak. And so when that happens, that's, the muscles kind of go back and the tissue just stretches. It can stretch really thin like cellophane. And so wherever you feel that dip, then you can try to see how many fingers you can fit in there.
So where is that? Is that around the belly button?
It can be all the way below the belly, all the way up to where the ribs meet. Every woman, you can split all the way up. You can split at your belly button. You can split just below or just split up. It just depends. So I do have videos that show how to check for that. It's a lot easier to watch the videos, but go ahead.
No, I said, yeah, it's much easier than listening to it on an audio.
Yeah, it is. And the main thing is, a lot of women do not know this because they talk about how wide they are, but the depth of your linea alba, that tissue, that's the most important, because you want to be able to get that strengthened back up and thick again. And women don't realize that. So that depth is very important.
That's awesome. So tell us a couple things that we could do to prevent it. I didn't even think about preventing it. I just thought it, it just kind of happens with pregnancy.
Mm-hmm. Well, you need to correct your alignment, first of all, and that would mean putting your weight more towards your heels. You kind of have to, we lean forward all the time because we usually wear heels, so we got to kind of come back. And a lot of us stand with a tucked position in our pelvic floor. We tuck our bums. We need to learn to untuck that to get in a neutral position and make sure that your ribs are over your pelvic floor. And then you need to make sure that your ribs are in and down over your pelvic floor, not flaring, not rib flaring. So you have to really work on alignment, and it's a whole new process of thinking. But it can also correct other aches and pains in your body if you have low back issues, even shoulder issues, things like that. And then you need to learn to breathe with your diaphragm. So those are two really important foundations that need to be in place when you heal. And then learning how to connect those inner core muscles. So if you pick up your pelvic floor, like you lift your pelvic floor, a lot of people call them Kegels. They think that Kegels are that's what we're going to do to strengthen the pelvic floor, but you're working that muscle in isolation. And I listed out the 4 inner core muscles a while ago, and they need to be working together like gears. So you need to learn how to do that. And so if you pick your pelvic floor up, you want to be able to feel your transverse abdominals engage. And then you need to learn how to engage those even more, like when you're working out. So you need to learn how to, and in your daily activities. And your body actually will get to where it will do this normally by itself once you do it over and over and over again.
Okay. While you're explaining all this, I'm literally sitting here like trying to correct my posture as you're saying it.
Yeah, I was like, that's what people do, and they're lifting their pelvic floors and they're trying to figure all this out. And wait, what? It's a lot to think about at once.
That makes sense though, because like sitting up straight, yeah, I guess you do kind of sitting up straight naturally flare out like ribs, and so. Yes. I don't know. I've never realized it until you said it, and I'm sitting here like, oh, I'm feeling kind of like I'm not doing it right.
Right, and most of us don't. Like 90%, 95% of women, I would say, don't do this correctly, don't breathe correctly. And that's so alignment, breathing, and learning how to connect those inner core muscles and learning how to work them when they work out and through their everyday activities and knowing how to protect yourself with your abs. It's just really important. And the other thing is, and I did mention this a while ago, not sucking in, letting it go, but it does need to be active at times.
Gotcha.
So engaged, like when you're working out, is different than active. And it's you just don't want to, you want to let go of that intra-abdominal pressure.
Gotcha. What about the things that kind of like force you to suck in? Like maybe a Spanx or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you have a diastasis, you do not want to be wearing Spanx like that. Or even tight-fitting clothing can really, if you're doing that all the time. So let's say you're wearing tight-fitting clothing and you're at a desk job all day long and you're in a bad alignment. So let's say if you're hunched over and your zipper's undone, what's that going to do to that zipper? It's going to open it even more. So when you're sitting all day and you're in wrong alignment, that's going to open that diastasis even more. And even if you're rib flaring, it'll open it up top. So you have to learn how to do these little steps every day that's going to help, because if you're just working on it during, let's just work out and let's just do one exercise, you can't undo like 10 hours of being in wrong alignment. Does that make sense?
Right. Okay. So I know you said planks. What else should people avoid if they have diastasis? I can't even say that word. Sometimes it's like a tongue twister for me.
I know. And some people pronounce it diastasis, and some people pronounce it diastasis. So no crunches. You don't ever need to do crunches. There's so many other ways to work your abs. No sit-ups. I do think you can lift heavy weights, but you have to wait until you know correct alignment, and you don't want to be straining, because that can cause you to cone and bulge. Just like if you are doing crunches or doing the planks, it can cause you to cone or bulge, and pull-ups are going to cause you to cone or bulge. So anything that puts you in a crunch position, you just have to be careful and do tummy safe workouts and activities, and just learn how to move correctly.
Okay. I guess tell us what are some really good exercises people can do for it? It's so surprising because I didn't even think about pull-ups. I didn't even think about that for tummy problems.
Right. Oh, and I should mention too, anything jumping, running. So every time you land, you put pressure on that pelvic floor, and it's you have to learn how to run correctly, or maybe modify. When you now work with women who start healing their diastasis, and they can go back to their heavy weightlifting, or some can go back to their running. Some have a hard time with it. So it just depends. And you asked me another question.
Just the exercises that people can do, because it seems like there's so much that you can't do.
Well, there's so much you can do. So, you can do squats, lunges, learn how to do squats with bicep curls. You can do side planks, but you may have to modify, and even laying down on your side to modify, and just maybe doing, I call belly pumps, where you lift your pelvic floor up, and when you breathe out, this is going to sound funny, but I always tell my women to go like this, because you can feel an engagement down there when you make that sound. So you pull your pelvic floor up and just like that, and you think about engaging your transverse abdominal along when you do that, even more so, it's going to work it. And you want to learn how to do that with every single workout you do, because then you're getting an ab workout and really engaging that transverse abdominal. So there's tons that you can do. You just have to know how to do it safely. But there is not one magical exercise that's going to heal it.
Yeah. So you said you can do squats, but you just want to be careful if you want to use extra weight for the squats.
Yeah. So let's just even say if you have 8-pound weight, you can squat and do bicep curls. I do all that kind of stuff with my clients, but I tell them to get a weight that challenges them but doesn't hurt them. They have to make sure they're not coning and they're not bulging. And we find other ways to modify for ab workouts, and we do different things, angled belly pumps, like up against the wall. That's hard. And then I do these things where you do knee slide-ins when you're kind of leaning back a little bit and you slide your legs up to you. And you just pump your belly. Yeah, that really works really well. A lot of different things you can do.
Gotcha. That's interesting.
I know, it is very interesting, but they work. The other thing that you do have to be careful of is you have to know if you have a tight pelvic floor or a loose pelvic floor. And I always tell women, okay, so try to pick up your pelvic floor, okay, and then drop it. Was it easier to raise or was it easier to drop? And if it's not easy to drop, then you probably have a tight pelvic floor and you have to really work. And one of the best ways to help a tight pelvic floor is what I had talked about earlier, is the diaphragmatic breath, where you breathe in and your diaphragm comes down and it opens up your pelvic floor. So it's lengthening your pelvic floor. And
Gotcha.
also getting into correct alignment where you untuck. And some women actually tuck too much if they have lordosis, so they have to come in and bring their pelvic floor down just a little.
Can you define pelvic floor? Is that like doing Kegels? Is that what you mean, like by bringing it up and bringing it down?
Yeah, and I also tell women, pretend like you're picking up a grape down there or a kidney bean or a tissue, something like that. And some women may only feel it in the bottom area, and they don't feel it up front first. So I have to work with my clients so they can start feeling it front and back, because our pelvic floors do run all the way, front to back. And so it's a muscle that needs to be worked. And a lot of times we need to work on lengthening it and not making sure it's not too tight. Because if you have a tight pelvic floor, you can have the same symptoms with a loose pelvic floor. You can have pelvic organ prolapse and you can have leakage just like you can with a loose pelvic floor.
Gotcha. Okay. So give women 3 tips that they could start doing today, 3 like specific tips to help them start restoring their diastasis.
Well, this is the biggies. I probably could have more tips, but it's kind of repeating what I said before. But don't do crunches. Okay. Don't do sit-ups, because that's going to hurt you. Please don't do planks. And also, you've got to start working on your alignment. That's going to be the biggest key, your alignment and breathing with your diaphragm. And when I say diaphragm, you don't want it to make a belly breath. So like a yoga breath, you want your breath to be around your rib cage, under your rib cage, like an umbrella breath. So if your hands are on your ribs, when you breathe in, you feel your ribs expand and your hands expand when they're on their ribs. Because if it's a belly breath, you are putting pressure on that diastasis. So, and also be careful. Here's my other tip, because this is something I see constantly. And I understand, too. They ask for, okay, so how can I heal this? They ask this in mommy groups and Facebook groups and everything. And they are getting answers like do Pilates, do yoga, do planks, like I said before. And there's a lot of moves in yoga and there's a lot of moves in Pilates that can harm it. So you have to be careful who you ask. So you want to make sure that they're proven that they really they're diastasis specialists and they know what they're doing, because there's a lot of bad information out there.
Oh, yes, for sure. I'm doing all this while I'm talking to you. How do you breathe and feel it in your ribs? Is there something that you do differently versus like a belly breath?
Yeah, so I'm sorry if you heard a bang, my foot just knocked something over.
No.
If you lay down, so that's easier because you're not fighting against gravity. And you just put your hands down on your lower ribs and think of filling up a balloon. And you want to feel your ribs, like you pretend like your ribs can kind of you're flaring your ribs out, kind of like a mini blind, I guess you could say. And you want your hands to move. So here I am doing it too, like I'm breathing in right now.
I'm trying.
And my hands are moving. So if you saw me, you'd see my hands move with my ribs. Like my ribs are moving my hands. And you want to fill up your back too. So your back and all around. And your belly is going to rise a little. So you're going to have a gentle belly rise, and your chest is going to rise probably the last third. So you're using all of it, but your main focus, you want to be right there in the rib area, or right under the rib cage too.
And do you breathe normally, or do you do like a deep breath?
Well, you want to learn how to breathe normally like that throughout your day as much as you can. But when you're relaxing, or when you know, hey, I need to get some deep diaphragmatic breaths in to loosen my pelvic floor, then you really want to do that. Just like when, you're feeling like, oh, I've got to take deep breaths here. You want to practice that. So the goal is to learn how to breathe that way. Because if you look at our babies and our toddlers, they are breathing like that. They are in correct alignment. They're moving correctly. They squat to pick things up. They have it all. And then we start in this culture of sitting, and we have all the stuff that we rest on, and we're not using our muscles correctly, and we start wearing these heels, and it's getting us all out of alignment. And then it's harder for our diaphragm to actually get down if you're out of alignment, and if your bellies are sucked in, like we get taught that, it can't get down to do its job.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Well, moms, I think you definitely need to find Olivia. So where can people find you? Because I've learned so much within this 20 minutes than what I didn't know. I didn't know anything about it, really.
Right. And that's the thing, is I wish women would learn to do this before they get diastasis or before they get pregnant, because when you have malalignment, you go into pregnancy, you work out, you actually make that even worse, that alignment worse, and then you have the baby, and then you end up start hurting yourself, because when you're pregnant, these women are working out, they're running, they're jumping, they're doing CrossFit, because the myth has been busted that exercise is going to hurt the baby. It's going to be good for this baby, but what women are doing is they're hurting themselves. They're hurting their pelvic floors. I mean, the rise of pelvic floor issues have gone up, and I do believe it's because of, during pregnancy, what women are doing, and they're hurting themselves, and they don't realize it.
Okay.
But yeah, you can find me at oliviakegel.com. And I have a 5-day diastasis challenge that's free. It's going to teach you how to check. It's going to teach you the basic of alignment and breathing and connecting those inner cores, and even some exercises. So I have that. And then I also run an 8-week online boot camp every 4 weeks. And I just started my Fit Pregnancy boot camp to help mamas.
Awesome.
As well. Yeah, mamas.
That's awesome. And you're on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, right?
Yes. And Facebook, it's Olivia Kegel Biz. And Instagram, I believe, Olivia Kegel 1.
Awesome.
I have 3 Instagrams, but that's my main one.
That's funny. Oh,
I have one that's just for diastasis, and one that I'm starting that's just for pregnancy, but
I totally understand. I totally get it. I actually forgot to ask you, like, how long does it usually take to heal? And I know that's probably very broad, and everyone is so unique, but is there like an average time of when women will start to see like improvement?
There's no average time. Some women heal very quickly. They'll start seeing results in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but then some women, it can be a month, 9 months, and up to a year to 2 years to be completely healed to where they want to be. So it all depends on the condition of the linea alba. Sometimes it depends on diet and nutrition. A lot of times it does, because we're talking about tissues here, and collagen, the studies have been shown that collagen helps tissue. So I do tell my mamas, please, that could be another tip for you right there. Start drinking collagen or bone broth every day.
Yes. Oh, I love that tip.
Yes, I knew you would love that tip. So I tell them that, and it really just depends on genetics too, and how quickly you can connect those inner core muscles. So yeah, every woman is definitely different, and it is a journey. But the neat thing is you don't have to have surgery to heal it. Now, some women's may be so severe that yes, but there are women that have been 8 fingers wide, 9 fingers wide that have healed it.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I can't imagine like 9. But that's
Yep.
awesome. It's one of those things like, oh, I don't have to live with this forever.
Yes. Now, you do probably have to do tummy safe exercises forever. You just have to be careful. But there's so much you can do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing everything that you did today. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye, everybody in the podcast.
The contents of this podcast are for educational purposes only. This information is not intended to replace a one-on-one relationship with a qualified healthcare professional, and it is not intended for medical advice. This is the sharing of knowledge and information from education, research, and experience. I am not a registered dietitian or physician. I encourage you to make your own healthcare decisions based on your research and partnership with a healthcare professional. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next week.